everyone. My name is Hifza and I'm an international student as advisor for families and sponsor students at Memorial University based in Internationalization Office. In this presentation, I will discuss the supports and facilities available for international students at MUN, particularly those arriving with their families or planning to bring them here. I will cover various aspects of the support system provided to help students navigate their journey effectively. And here just a little note, keeping time in mind, I will try to be little quick so we can complete in time and your questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. So, mm, so let's start. Um, is my screen is share? Is my okay. So I'm not. Okay, so let's start with the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that the lands on the which Memorial University campus are situated are in the traditional territories of diverse indigenous groups, and we acknowledge with respect the diverse histories and cultures of the Bithok, Mi'kmaq, Innu, and Inuit of this province. Mm. Moving forward, I would like to outline the agenda. In this presentation, I will provide information about schools in Newfoundland, which will be essential if you are coming here with your children. This information is designed to be helpful as you navigate the education system. Um, I will discuss the Newfoundland education system, including the structure covering elementary, junior high, and high school level, and provide an overview of a school registration for children. Additionally, I will explain the process of enrolling your children in Newfoundland schools and outline the documents required for school admission. Next, I will discuss the various types of childcare available in Newfoundland. I will provide details about the different childcare options and highlight government assistance program designed to help newcomers and international student families manage childcare cost. Following that, I will cover on campus childcare facilities at Memorial University, including information about eligibility and key consideration for applying for MUN on-campus childcare services. I will also share information about resources available for spouse and children, as well as weekly social programming. While Ken has already touched on some of these, I will provide further details about the social programming specifically designed for spouses and kids, both with the Internationalization Office and at the university and beyond. And the last is I am also going to provide little bit information on family housing. So without further delay, let's proceed. I will begin with an overview of Newfoundland schools. In Newfoundland, schools are collectively managed under an organization known as Annal Schools, which operate multiple institutions across the province. For St. John's, Annal School is managed through its Avalon Regional Office, and it's also referred to as Avalon Headquarter. This is the designated office where international students arriving at the St. John campus are required to enroll their children. So if you see that school boards in Newfoundland, they collectively known as NL schools. The headquarter for St. John's is referred to as Avalon office or Avalon headquarter. Typically, the school session begins in September. So if you are arriving as a student during the fall intake, your children will be able to start the school year from the very beginning. But they will also get admission in the mid session based on in their age. Let's say if a student arrives in winter or in spring, the intake process will remain the same. However, the academic year student starts in the first week of September and concludes around the end of June, typically near June 25th. So schools, basically school admissions begin from September, but even if any student will arrive during winter or spring semester for their university, their children can still get admission during the mid session. And school hours are typically from 9 to 3 p.m. During this time, your children will be in school and you will need to arrange to pick them up at 3 p.m. depending on your transportation option. and you can plan accordingly your drop off and pick up. And okay, so most schools in Newfoundland are funded by the federal government and administered by the provincial government. So these schools, known as public schools, provide free education to students. As an international student with a valid study permit, your children are also eligible for free education at these schools. So if you hold a valid study permit, let's say for yourself and for your child, they qualify for this free education. And additionally, if you have applied for a visitor visa for your child and they are below the age of 5, you might also be eligible for free daycare or childcare services. However, eligibility may vary depending on individual circumstances. So it's important to verify your specific case. Overall, most international students' children qualify for free education in Newfoundland. Moving forward, in Newfoundland schools, there are three distinct levels. Students are placed in grade based primarily on their age, ensuring they are in the appropriate level for their development stage. So if you can see that first elementary school that includes kindergarten through grade 6 for children ages 5 to 12 years, and then junior high covers grades 7 to 9 with the students typically age 13 to 15 years, and senior high includes grade 10 to 12 for students which are age 16 to 18 years. So your child will be placed in the appropriate level based on their age. And this might be different from your home country where your child might attend school based on the grades they have already completed. But however, your child will be placed in school according to their age group in NL. Additionally, also the children usually attend school within their residential catchment area. So let's say this is why it's important to secure your accommodation before your arrival. If you are if you are arriving with children, and the accommodation address will be used for their school process. So if you got the accommodation secure, then it's good for you, as you can apply for your school admission of your children and you can provide that accommodation address. So that's why it is also compulsory to find a location before your arrival. So, and next step is school registration. For those arriving with children, school registration is an important process. So to make it easier, I have divided this section into two parts. So first, you need to apply for a letter of acceptance from the school board, which is officially referred to as NL schools. And I already explained in previous slide that Newfoundland and Labrador schools are in called collectively, all the schools are called NL schools, and they come as a in a NL school district. So this letter is essential for enrolling your child in a school. So to obtain the letter of acceptance, you must contact NL schools directly. You can contact them by phone. However, you will not be able to submit the required document over the phone. So they will likely ask you to email the necessary documents and request a letter of acceptance as well. So to proceed, then you have to send an email to the to this if you see this email address nlisc@nlschool.ca. So to you have to send an email to this address to obtain the letter of acceptance for your children. And once you receive the letter, you can then contact your school for the next step. So that means that first you have to obtain the letter of acceptance, and then you have to contact the school, whatever school is being selected for your child, you have to contact the school on the next step. And in the letter of acceptance you will receive from that you will receive, it will say that this school will be attended by your children. So once you have this letter, you will need to then that you school directly, whatever school is mentioned in your letter of acceptance, you have to contact them directly. um, And then when you have to contact the school in the next step, you will need to bring all the documents that you previously submitted to obtain the letter of acceptance. So along with the letter itself at the school, you may also be required to complete basic information forms about yourself and your children, and you will need to provide all the required document, after which your child's admission will be completed. It's a straightforward process, and first apply to just understand it in two ways. That first apply to obtain the letter of acceptance. Once you receive it, contact the assigned school to proceed. And in the next slide, I will discuss the required documents as well. And a link has already been provided here, which you can use to access the URL and view the list of necessary documents. But I will go over each of these documents in detail in the following slide. Mm, Okay. So here is the list of documents you may need to provide when applying through this email address. The email address you already noted from the previous slides. So these are the list of documents. So when you are applying to get the letter of acceptance, you will need to send soft copies of all the required documents to the provided email address. In your email, make sure to mention that you are a new international student and you are requesting the letter of acceptance for your child. The document you will need to include are your valid passport, your study permit, a confirmation letter from Memorial University, which could be either your admission letter or your enrollment letter. And sometimes annual school may also ask about your enrollment letter specifically. So you will need to provide your child's passport, visa, and study permit, and also their mm, your child's passport, visa, study permit, or their visitor record, which is applicable. So additionally, you should include, this is also important, that additionally you should include their birth certificate and school records if they have attended school in your home country. While it's not mandatory to provide school records, it's a good idea to carry them with you. So sometimes they ask, but and sometimes they don't ask, so it's better to keep the records if they have any school attended previously. So additionally, it's important to bring medical information such as vaccination or immunization records. I strongly recommend ensuring that this information is available in English. So all these documents which are in your not translated in English, you need to even translate all the documents in English. um, and school may also ask for this document, so it's important to bring it along. Additionally, you will need to provide proof of address. This can include an electricity bill, rental agreement, bank statement, or telephone bill. So proof of address is also crucial as it helps determine which school your child will attend. And once you arrive, if you are eligible, you should apply for MCP card, and you will need to provide the MCP card or any other insurance information you have for your child or family members to the school. So this is important because in case of an emergency during school hours, the school can quickly access the necessary information to ensure your child receives medical assistance without a delay. So you should have this information with you, but it can be supplemented later. I mean, you can, if the information is available, you can provide them at the time of admission. Otherwise, it can be provided later as well. Um, when applying for letter of acceptance, these are the same documents you will need when contacting NL schools for admission and when providing information to school allocated by the NL school board for your child. The only additional document you need to provide is the letter of acceptance you received from NL school. So I hope this makes sense. You will so in you will need to gather all these documents and send them to the NL school board. So once you receive the letter of acceptance, attach it to all your documents and reach out to specific school allocated to your child by NL school board. Okay, say and now next slide. And now I'm going to talk about childcare. Many of you are likely interested in understanding the childcare system and how to apply. First, I would like to mention that there are different types of childcare available. Broadly, there are two main types. The first is child care center and the second is family childcare. So, childcare centers are government regulated facilities where children are cared for in designated buildings specifically designed for this purpose. Your child will go to the childcare center to access these services. On the other hand, family childcare operates in a more flexible setting and may or may not be regulated. It can either be regulated or non-regulated. However, most family-based childcare centers and St. John's are regulated. So there's no need to worry about their safety or whether you should choose them. They are generally a safe, reliable option for childcare. So these family childcare centers can be a good option for your child as well. And in this type of in this type of care, children are brought to you to the caregiver home directly, meaning parents need to drop off their child there. Unlike childcare center, which are in designated buildings, and family childcare is provided in a caregiver home. So this is the difference. These family-based childcare centers are supported and monitored and regulated by the Family and Childcare Connections. And so FCCC is a non-profit organization which is there to supervise, monitor these family childcares which are based on the owner, like the caregiver own home. So it will be also be monitored by FCCC. Um, so because they have to ensure that the services provided meet safety and quality standards. And these family childcare centers are also regulated and regularly checked by by this organization to ensure they meet a standard. And if you want to find out more about the available family childcare centers, you can scan this QR code. It will connect you to the website where you can access all the relevant information about childcare centers in Newfoundland. So next is we have the Early Learning Gateway, which is a new platform launched by the Newfoundland government. And this platform allows parents to register their child on the waiting list for various childcare centers and all in one place. So what you have to do is you only need to create an account on at NL government website, and once you create your account you will need to link it to your MCP card or any government issue ID from Newfoundland, such as like a driving license or photo ID. However, please note that this service can only be accessed once you are in Newfoundland. So you need to be here in Newfoundland to access this service. And if you have already arrived and have one of the required documents such as your MCP card or any government issue ID, then you can apply and access the facility. But if you are not here, it may take some time to receive your MCP, driver lessons, or photo ID from Newfoundland. So you may need to wait a little before you can use the platform. And once you have one of these documents like MCP or driving lessons, you can access this facility. All you need to do is just create an account and link it to the ID. And then you will able to view the list of childcare center available across Newfoundland. And based on your residential area and accessibility, you can register your child with those centers. This is the most important feature of this platform is that it allow you to add your child name to be waiting list of different childcare center. And it's not just limited to one specific childcare center. So you can register up to 10 childcare centers through a single platform. And this makes it convenient and easily accessible. So, if you need your childcare for your kids, you can explore this option. And I highly recommend applying through this platform if you encounter any issue or if you need any assistance while using the platform. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. So, we are here to help. And next, many of you will likely be interested in on-campus childcare. As university students, you have priority access to this service. And this means your child can be cared for on the university campus while you attend your classes. And it's definitely a great opportunity. But if you are able to secure a spot for your child in the on-campus childcare center, although it's more convenient and beneficial for you as a student, but there is a only one issue that I wanted to point out, that campus childcare has a long wait list. So still, I highly recommend registering your child for this childcare as soon as possible. This childcare center is actually located on campus, it's very close to our office as well. And they offer programs for toddlers starting at age 2, full and part-time preschoolers from ages 3 to 6, and school age from ages 5 to 10. And to register, simply visit the website and enroll your child to be placed on the waiting list. So this website is available, which you see on the slide. Now you might be wondering, how long does the waiting list take? The waiting time, so I can say that the waiting time is unpredictable. We can say, we can't say exactly how long it will take to get a spot for your child, as it depends on factors like your child's age and the availability of spots. So the waiting time varies for like different age groups. So it's not guaranteed that if you register today, you will get a spot next month, or even within the next 6 months. So it's entirely depends on when a spot becomes available. But you should definitely register for this childcare to get on the waiting list. Wow. So once your spot becomes available, you will be notified via email or any other communication method you have provided. And at that point, you can decide whether you want to accept the spot, or if you have already found another childcare option. So this is all about month childcare. So make sure you visit the website to explore the facility and apply. And in addition to all the information I've shared, we also created the IO list specifically for childcare options. And you can so that list you can access by scanning the this QR code, which is in the slide right now. If you scan this code, you will directly go to the childcare list which we have created on our recommendation. So it includes all the available childcare centers in St. John's area, and including location near campus in the east and west end and other parts of the city. So we have organized this list by different areas for your convenience. And we generally recommend that all students search and register with multiple daycares. Scoring a spot in the childcare, including on-campus options, is quite challenging these days. So don't limit yourself just 2 or 3 childcares. Try to register with several different ones. So that way, when a spot become available in any of these center, you will have a better chance of placing your child there. This is important. Okay, so now let's talk about the cost of childcare. You might be wondering what the childcare costs are here in Newfoundland. So in here we have the operating grant program, which helps make childcare most affordable for families with young children across the province. So you will find that most childcare centers here participate in this program, and these centers typically charge no more than $10 per day. So before the grant program, the cost of childcare was around $30 to $60 per day, which was quite expensive for many families. But now around 97% of regulated childcare services participate in this program. And approximately 96% of child care centers and 98 of family childcare providers are covered. So this means that most of the childcare center you will register your child will be part of the operating grant program. However, there are still few childcare centers that do not participate in this program. So they may not have enrolled in this program yet. So it's important you check with the childcare center when they are whether they are covered under the operating grant program. If they are, then the cost will be only $10 per day. And if you want to know more about the operating grant program, which childcare centers are covered and the rates, you can access all this information through this link provided. And another way to help cover the cost of childcare is through the Child Care Service Subsidy Program. If you anticipate or encounter any difficulty affording childcare expenses, you can apply for financial assistance through this program. So it's an income-based program, which means your family financial status will be verified to determine if you are eligible for assistance with the fees at a regulated childcare facility. So if your family qualifies, the subsidy will be based on the level of need, and the childcare fee may be completely eliminated or reduced depending on your financial situation. If you qualify for the subsidy, the amount you receive will be paid directly to the childcare center on behalf of your family. And in some cases, this could mean that your childcare costs are entirely covered. It all depends on your financial status and the level of subsidy you qualify for. And if you want to learn more about this program or apply for it after your arrival, you can visit the website for further details. And if you need assistance with the application, we are here and happy to help you with that as well. And next, I will provide an overview of our website, which highlights the resources and facilities available for spouses and children. So this screenshot, this slide you are seeing, this is the screenshot of our website, and it has all the information regarding family program and information on all the information which are I'm going to provide in this presentation as well. This is all updated on our website. Uh, so as an international student, you have access to numerous facilities provided by university, but there are also resources available specifically for your family and children. So you can find these resources under the family program section on Internationalization Office website. Simply go to student and alumni section and you will find the family program list there. And so if you visit the family program section, you will find a list of resources we provide. And this include all the various activities and events, and these events are not just limited to on-campus activities, but also include off-campus options, and ensuring that there are opportunity for everyone regardless of location. And also, we provide valuable information specifically for spouses and partner. And in the next slide, I will share more detail, explain all this information with you. So first of all, information regarding spouses and partner. If you are coming here with your spouse or any other family member, we have provided helpful resources for them as well. One key section is on work and volunteer opportunities. This is here you can find useful tips and website links that will help you and your spouse search for job opportunities. And additionally, there are also resources on ESL, English as a second language opportunities, which can be beneficial for your partner to improve language skills while settling in. And ESL means English as a second language, and we understand that many students coming here may not have English as their first language, and their spouses or family member may need assistance in learning English. So this service can be accessed by your spouse, partner, or even yourself if you would like to improve your language skill. And in addition, there are community programs available as well, and we have compiled a complete list of ESL opportunities and community groups, which you can find on the dedicated page. Although I cannot show you the full page here, but these are the key points covered in the section. So moving forward, so the next, let's talk about family and health and well-being. You might have question about health insurance coverage for your family, especially since international students are covered under foreign health insurance when they arrive. But what about your family? This section will be really helpful for you. It provide information on how you can add your family members to the foreign health insurance plan, or how you can enroll them in other insurance program such as Green Shield or extended health insurance provided by GSU and Mansu. And you will also find details about whether your family is eligible for the medical care plan, the criteria for eligibility, and where to access services like family doctor or child immunization. So maybe you have a child who is a 1 year old or younger, or the age might vary depending on your situation. If you are looking for immunization for your child, flu shots or other vaccination, this page will be really helpful. It provides information on all the facilities and resources where you can access these health services for your child, and you can find details on where to get these vaccinations and the procedures involved. And moving forward, we have information on finances and budgeting. We have included details about various bank and financial institutions. On this link, you can find information on different banks available here, including those that are conveniently located near the university. So this will help you and your family manage your finances efficiently during your time here. And next we have the section on finance and budgeting. We have compiled a list of banks and financial institutions with their website links and phone numbers to help you access their service easily. If you are wondering how to open a bank account, schedule an appointment, or avail any banking service, this section provides all the necessary details. And regarding the credit score, I strongly recommend reading this section carefully, as building a good credit score in Canada is crucial, and it may differ from the system in your home country. Understanding how to manage and improve your credit score will be very beneficial and important. Moreover, the section covers family tax benefit, and once you have been in Canada for a year, or once the tax season arrives, usually around February or March, you may be eligible to file taxes and apply for family tax benefit. And this section provide all the information you need to understand what benefits are available and how to apply for them. And if you need any guidance with any of these topics, so you just reach out to us. So, and if you have any queries, you can email at international@mun.ca, or you can directly email me. And next, when it comes to families, especially those with children, you might be wondering how to prepare for the weather in St. John's, and the winters here can be really harsh, so it's important to be well prepared. And I recommend visiting the link where you can find information about winter safety, the types of clothing you should bring, and preparation you need to make before the winter season starts. So this resource will be very helpful in ensuring you and your family are ready for the colder months. And the next is public transit. And I think Ken has already covered some part of the public bus service transportation, such as Metro bus. But in this hints, but in this slide, however, you will find all the detail you need, including how to get a Metro bus pass and where you can apply for it, and contact number for taxi or cab. Additionally, there are links to apps that provide transit information, and this section will also include information on car rental services. So if you need to rent a car, you will find relevant providers and website link, and all information you need about public transportation is available here. And this section is about driving in Newfoundland. On this page, you will find information on how to apply for learner's permit, where to go, and the available options for getting your driver license. And if you're looking to learn to drive here and apply for a driver's license from the start, so you will find necessary steps outlined. If you already have a driver's license from your home country, the page also details the procedure you need to follow and the information required. All these details are available on this page. So now let's talk about social programming for families. Uh, and the family intake form. So for social programming, one of the groups available is Sharing Joy Women Support Group, which is especially for the spouses of international students. This group is dedicated to women, and if you have a female family member or spouse, she is most welcome to join. So Usually the group runs on Wednesdays 10:30 to 12, but currently we hold it for some reason. We are not going on right now, but this group is usually run on these times and on this day at room number 2002 Global Learning Center. But for just for this presentation, I'm telling that this is right now on hold. So, but yeah, so this is the information for the Sharing Joy group, and we also offer weekly family newsletter that provides a snapshot of what's happening around the city, including the social events, programs, and services that might be of your interest. And this newsletter can help you stay informed about on-campus as well as off-campus activities. And you can access the family newsletter by following our Facebook page and Mund Internationalization Office page. And most importantly, I encourage all students attending this session to fill out the family intake form. By registering through this form, you will stay updated on the family program provided by the Internationalization Office for you and your family member. And you have to just register. For register, you simply visit the Internationalization Office website and search for the family intake form. It's a simple form where you will provide information about your family, whether you are arriving with them or planning to bring them in future. But by filling out this form, we can ensure that you receive all relevant information about upcoming programs and events about families. And also this is a good way to for the information circulation. If we have any update, we can even circulate it through this form. So I emphasize that you should register for this form. And the next is family housing. So for family housing, firstly you have to understand that there are two types of housing. One is on-campus accommodation, and the other one is off-campus accommodation. So right now there are no on-campus family housing option available for winter 2025 semester, and also applications for futures are on hold, and we nobody say that how long it will take to open the applications again. So this is for on-campus. And for off-campus housing, these are they have various kind of options, just such as student shared accommodation, private basement apartments, and apartments available through property management companies. So these are the three types of off-campus accommodation. And but there is one thing to keep in mind, that there is a lot of scams sometimes happen with the off-campus accommodation. So you have to keep in mind about the false listing. And then there are some points that need to be considered for the family housing, as commonly it's difficult to that family housing is considered a little different from a student accommodation, because usually family do not want to share with a house with other students, and also students do not prefer to share when there is a family or when there is a kids. So it's little considered as a little different than single students, because usually single students can stay with a shared accommodation, like 4 or 5 students can stay in one house with different rooms, but family usually don't go for this. And then the family often require a bigger house, as with if a family is coming with 1 or 2 kids, so they might need a 2 bedroom apartment, as one bedroom is not in not a good option. And also sometimes landlords are not willing to provide one room for the people, for the family of 4. So it's usually family requires 2 bedroom apartment, and if they particularly have children also with them. And another point is family housing usually has a slightly higher budget than a single room, because it's like around 1,300 to 2,000 on an average. But these are the key points to keep in mind as you start to search your housing to ensure that your family needs are met. And tips to find and secure housing as a newcomer. So when searching for housing as a newcomer, it's recommended to first secure temporary accommodation such as short-term renter before you find a long-term place. This will give you time to explore your options and get familiar with the area. And when you find a potential place, make sure to view it in person. This is the safest way to ensure it meets all your needs and expectations. And lastly, if you are be cautious if you are asked to sign a lease before your arrival. Many scams exist, so it's important to ensure the legitimacy of the rental before committing any commitment. So that there are three kind of options for the temporary accommodation is hotels or Airbnb, and then there are ads on Facebook or Marketplace or Kijiji website, and there are student communities on WhatsApp. So St. John's is a like a small town, so there are not very much options. So if we summarize, these are the three temporary accommodations options. So you need to think about all these temporary options, and you just have these options. And how to find these options, this is the resources. If you see, this is the IO listing, and the IO listing is available on our website. And this so if you go on the, I can show you, this is the link, but I'm not right now opening that this, but you can see on our website is available. And then there's a space shared group which is also available on our website, and Facebook groups and Marketplace or Kijiji, and then student communities which are on WhatsApp or Messenger. You can join, and you can contact with your like someone from your country, or your senior, or your friend, someone who knows, so you can ask them to add you in a WhatsApp group. So then it is also a mode of communication, and you can like they know about any opportunity, they can tell you. And the words of mouth. So people usually know each other here people usually know each other here, so usually they can communicate when there is an available housing. So thank you for listening to me, and if you have any questions or concerns, please email us at international@mun.ca or email me at hifzat@mun.ca. Thank you.